How about that? Better than Noah, huh?
Noah slumped to the ground upon hearing Tom's voice from the pet camera. I too collapsed to the floor in shock. On New Year's Eve night, my husband and I, who had gone back to my in-laws' house, were speechless at the sight of my husband and our son's wife back at our own home. The smartphone continued to broadcast Tom and Natalie getting cozy. We are now an old couple. Even though we knew the love we had at the beginning of our marriage had turned into just familial love, it was still shocking.
Let's go. We're not letting those two do whatever they please,
I said to a dejected Noah. And so, we rushed home in the car driven by Sandy, my sister-in-law. My name is Sally Evans. My husband Tom, our only son and firstborn Noah, and his wife Natalie. And we live with our parakeet, Pippi, 4 people and 1 pet. Noah and Natalie got married a few months ago. I had known about Natalie since they were dating. She seemed to like Noah and even confessed to him. Since they started dating, Noah has always taken great care of Natalie, and he often talked to me about her.
I'd like to meet Natalie. I'll bring her over next time.
As a parent, it's natural to be curious about your child's partner. I was really looking forward to meeting her. A few months passed, and as promised, Noah brought Natalie over. She had long waved hair and dressed fashionably. Exactly the impression of a modern young woman. "This is a gift for you," she said, offering me macarons from a famous bakery.
You went out of your way for this? These are hard to get without standing in line, aren't they? I'm delighted,
I replied, accepting them and expressing my thanks. Full of curiosity about her, I asked various questions. But, talking to her, I felt something was off. Natalie wouldn't look me in the eye. Was she shy? If that was the case, it couldn't be helped. I figured the best way to become friends was to keep smiling and talking to her.
Hey! If you're up for it, how about joining us for dinner tonight? You can eat at our place and Noah can drive you home?
Noah agreed, and Natalie nodded. I was excited to cook dinner for 4. While I was preparing, Natalie spent time in Noah's room, just the 2 of them. A little break probably did them good. As evening came, Tom came home and the 4 of us sat down to eat. Tonight's dinner was beef stew cooked in a pressure cooker and a salad.
There's plenty, so don't be shy about getting seconds, Natalie.
She still wouldn't meet my eyes, but she nodded, and I was satisfied. However, during the meal, I felt a second wave of discomfort. She was making eye contact and smiling in conversation with my husband.
What is it about Noah that you fell in love with? His kindness.
They both said it, looking happy. I joined in.
Noah does have his moments of kindness. Even Mom's chiming in now. You usually don't give compliments.
Noah and Tom laughed. But amidst this, Natalie didn't smile. That's when it hit me. She wasn't even offering a courtesy laugh or making eye contact. She probably had no intention of getting along with me. Had I been disliked within just a few hours of meeting? I was stewing in my thoughts, but Tom and Noah seemed oblivious. After dinner, Noah drove Natalie home. That's when I asked Tom about his impression of her.
She's such a good kid, isn't she? Why don't you smile like that, Sally? Charm is a woman's best asset.
I bristled at his tone, but Tom must have taken a liking to her. I thought it best not to voice my dissatisfaction and simply smiled, saying, sure. He visited us several times after that, and it was always the same. I was enduring, thinking they would break up eventually, but one day, Noah announced he had decided to marry Natalie. Tom accepted this news with joy. But for me, it was a despair. Praying for their breakup, the last thing I expected was a marriage. I couldn't support it, but I wished for Noah's happiness without objecting. Months later, the two had a smooth wedding ceremony. Natalie's parents were civil servants, working at the city hall. They seemed like solid people. I resolved to take my grievances against her to the grave as I watched the happy couple chatting at the high table. During the wedding reception, I excused myself to the restroom. There, I overheard an unbelievable conversation. Can you believe they actually got married? It must have been a college friend attending. They seemed to be mutual acquaintances. Despite knowing it was wrong, I was curious and eavesdropped. Natalie definitely doesn't seem like she'd be good with mom friends. No one would want to be friends with someone like that. She acts as if all women are her enemies. She's so two-faced. If it weren't for Noah, no girls would have come to the wedding. The laughter of two young women. All women are enemies. That phrase oddly resonated with me. Generally, you'd think speaking ill of someone at such a place is more uncouth. Yet, given how much dissatisfaction I've accumulated against Natalie, I couldn't help but think there must be a reason for such gossip here too. But it was too late. Noah had married her. I regretted not having strongly dissuaded him, but it was out of my hands now. The wedding was supposed to be a joyous occasion, yet I couldn't sincerely celebrate, and it ended with me feeling this way. I was supposed to wish for their happiness, but now, all I can do is pray that Noah doesn't end up unhappy. One day, I received an invitation to dine from Tom's sister, Sandy. Tom's parents, who are over 80, live together at home, his mother still spry for her age and his father with bad legs. However, Sandy, concerned about leaving the elderly parents to live by themselves for too long, moved back to live with them. Sandy is married, but her husband is on a solo assignment right now, so it's just the three of them living together. She's always been kind to me, treating me like her real sister. I immediately accepted the invitation and decided to leave Tom's dinner to Natalie, heading out. "You don't have to keep Sandy company. She's just bored," Tom said, always one to add an extra word. I retorted, "I'm looking forward to seeing your sister too. I haven't met her since Noah's wedding, so I'm going to enjoy some time with her. Housewives sure have it easy." As if he's one to talk, retired, and doing nothing at home. I thought to myself, but couldn't be bothered to argue back. When the day came, I had a great time with Sandy. "You know, I found this funny post the other day," Sandy said over dinner, handing me her smartphone. "It's on social media, but it's really interesting. This person always posts complaints, but I can't help but look," Sandy said, amused. I'm not tech-savvy, only using messaging apps on social media. However, venting somewhere like this might not be a bad idea. Encouraged by Sandy, I signed up and created an account, following someone to see their posts. I followed the person Sandy mentioned and saw their posts. A live-in daughter-in-law? Wants to kick out the mother-in-law? Wow, there are such people, huh? I exclaimed in surprise. It was shockingly direct. Social media must be like that. For someone not used to it, it's quite stimulating. I'm a parent myself, but indeed, living together is hard, so I end up looking. Did Noah and Natalie say they wanted to live together? Yes. Well, you probably don't think like this, but you have to be careful not to be disliked by Natalie, Sally. Sandy laughed. All I could muster was a bitter smile in response. It was too embarrassing to admit that I seemed to be disliked without having done anything. Yet, I still wanted to get along with her. After seeing this live-in daughter-in-law's social media, I thought about studying what things she disliked. That night, a new post had appeared that wasn't there during the day. What? Today was a happy day without my mother-in-law around. I wish she'd never come back. I was stunned by that shocking sentence. What on earth did this mother-in-law do to her? Curiosity got the better of me, and I scrolled down. And there it was, an onslaught of insults and harsh words. My finger, which had been lightly scrolling through as if it were someone else's business, froze on a particular post. The wedding, it's the same day as Noah's. Yes. It seemed that person had their wedding on the same day as Noah and Natalie. The mother-in-law's formal dress, so tacky, lol. My muttered words trailed off. No wonder, because in the image attached to that post, I was pictured. The image was edited, but I was certain it was me, and my hands began to tremble. Could this really be Natalie? Could something like that happen? Yet, I couldn't convince myself it was someone else. Sally, aren't you going to sleep? Tom's voice reached me, lost in thought. Startled, I turned off the smartphone. Yeah, I'm going to bed now. Lying in my bed, I said goodnight. My heart was pounding painfully. It's not often one directly receives malice intended for oneself. Remembering a friend's words at the wedding that all women are enemies to her, I spent a sleepless night. To understand why I was disliked, I began to check those posts whenever I had time. Laundry, don't mix ours together. A bath after the mother-in-law? Absolutely not. I wish that bird would just disappear already. There were insults directed at Pippi, and times when what was being said was clearly off the rails. Living together is just like that. It was you who understood and stepped forward. Natalie's social media is nothing but a list of selfish claims, without even a reasonable claim about why she disliked me. I'm just getting more and more frustrated. The real-life Natalie is still the same, she responds and doesn't complain. How much better it would be if she just said it directly. Fortunately, the end of the year is near. At the end of every year, Tom goes back to his parents' place in Nebraska with me. I was hoping to have a slow talk with Sandy included, to get them to understand my feelings. However, Tom suddenly said he's not gonna go back this year. Why? I asked, and he said with an awkward look. I had a fight over Dad with my sister the other day. That's why I don't want to see her. Then all the more reason you should go and talk. My suggestion was not accepted, and Tom fell silent. What a childish excuse, not wanting to see someone because of a fight. Now, I can't even bring up that consultation. Natalie is going back to her parents' house alone, and I'll be staying here by myself. Why don't you take Noah with you this time, show my dad and mom their grandkids' face? He doesn't seem to want to go back at all. But, on the flip side, this might be a chance to talk to Noah. No choice then. Reluctantly accepting Tom's suggestion, I decided to go back to my husband's parents' house with Noah.
Then I'm off. Take care on your way back, Natalie. Give my regards to your mom and dad. Sure. Noah, say hi to your grandparents for me. I'll come to greet them next time too.
Natalie's words seemed to satisfy both Noah and Tom. Those words are probably a lie, too. I had been asked to help with the end-of-year cleaning, so we left home in the morning, even though it's just a few minutes by car. Natalie had finished preparing for her return home and planned to leave before noon. I told Tom he should at least make a Christmas greeting. So, it was decided that he would just pop by his parents' house for the Christmas greeting, and spend the New Year's Eve alone in this house, but Pippi is here. Since I asked him to care for Pippi, I was able to leave the house with peace of mind. The deep cleaning was done by the evening. For dinner, Sandy had prepared a special Christmas feast, and we enjoyed our meal together. The star of the conversation was Noah, who got married this year. I hesitated to bring up my concern as Noah proudly talked about Natalie. You look down. Tired? After dinner, my in-laws went to their bedroom, and Noah headed to the bath. As Sandy and I were cleaning up, she asked me. So, I have something I want to talk about. It's about this cohabiting wife on social media. Oh. That person, right? Funny, isn't she? Sandy laughed. I stopped what I was doing and whispered with a strained voice. It seems she's like Natalie. Sandy's complexion changed at my words. She must not have imagined it. Neither did I, of course. I wanted to think it was impossible. Sandy quickly checked the account, then said with a relieved voice. That's impossible. After all, Natalie is at her parents' home, right? Sandy said this while showing me the screen of her smartphone. It was displaying the post the cohabiting wife had just shared. Contrary to Sandy's relief, I was stunned by what I saw. No intruders, so it's lovey-dovey time with darling. Surely, this person is alone with her husband. Noah is here, so it's impossible. Normally, that's what one would think. But I had an unsettling feeling.
I'm done with the bath. Mom, you should go in too. What's wrong?
I couldn't hear Noah's voice as I trembled, turning to the smartphone.
Sandy, can I have some water?
My mother-in-law had returned to the bedroom but came back, yet I couldn't take my eyes off the smartphone. With trepidation, I opened the pet camera app that we have at home. Our parrot, Pippi, is in my bedroom, not the living room, while I'm away. It seemed more peaceful that way, and even though I said we were about to leave, Natalie was still at home. I could tell Pippi was getting annoyed because I saw it on social media, just to be safe. Since it's not the living room, I might not know what the house looks like. Still, I thought I might catch some voices, so I turned on the camera. What? But when I saw it, I was speechless. On the camera, the shadows of two people in the midst of it all were visible on the bed. What's wrong? Sandy asked me anxiously. I silently turned up the volume on my phone to the max.
How about it? Better than Noah, right? Hee hee, yes. Darling is the best.
The voices I heard were Tom's, and then Natalie's. Noah hurriedly peered into my smartphone. Sandy, the mother-in-law, and I were all frozen, listening to those voices coming from my phone.
What is this?
Noah yelled at me loudly.
I don't know. When I turned on the pet camera, this came up. What do you mean? Is this live?
I nodded in response to Sandy's words. The mother-in-law still didn't seem to understand the situation, just staring at us in astonishment.
It's Natalie and Dad, right? I can't believe this.
Noah headed to the couch and then just collapsed onto it. I sat down on the floor too. The smartphone still streamed the two of them flirting. Let's go, Sandy said. But neither Noah nor I could respond. I didn't care much for Natalie, but Noah was betrayed by the two people he loved the most. His shock must be greater than mine. Thinking of my son, I also tried to pull myself together, slowly stood up, and spoke to Noah.
Noah, are you okay?
There's no way he could be. But I couldn't find any other words. Noah just nodded slightly, his head hanging low.
Let's go. We won't let those two do as they please. Yeah.
Noah nodded firmly to my words. Sandy explained the situation to my mother-in-law. Without her, I wonder what would have become of us. I truly felt grateful. The 10 minutes it took to get home were silent between Noah and me. Sandy tried to make conversation, caring for us, but we couldn't hear anything. Noah and I, an old couple. I had seen our love from the beginning of our marriage turn into just familial love, but it was still a shock. Arriving home felt incredibly long, but eventually, we got there. Taking a deep breath and bracing myself, I burst through the front door and headed straight to my room.
What are you two doing?
I yelled as I opened the door. The two of them jumped up from the bed at the sound of my voice.
Ah! What the?
Natalie scrambled to cover herself and gather her clothes, while Tom shielded himself with a blanket.
What the heck, seriously? Natalie! What's this about?
Noah's voice was filled with anger, perhaps more from shock than anything else. He scolded them both with his powerful voice.
Wait, it's a misunderstanding,
Tom said even now. Sandy, Tom's own sister, was the one to express her anger at him. She yelled at Tom, still recording on her smartphone.
What misunderstanding? We've been watching through Pippi's pet camera. At your age, being called darling? It's embarrassingly shameful.
At those words, both Tom and Natalie turned pale. They probably didn't realize Pippi was in this room. And of course, they were unaware of the camera's existence. Natalie, once she understood the situation, cried out exaggeratedly.
Noah! I'm so sorry. I was forced by your father to call him darling, and today he forced me.
Natalie cried miserably, and Tom was taken aback.
Natty! You said you loved me. It was a lie, obviously.
We were appalled by their exchange. Betrayed so easily, Tom just slumped down, motionless. Only Natalie's crying filled the room. Leaving the two in the house, we returned to my in-laws' home, and even though it was Christmas time, there was no sense of celebration. My mother-in-law and father-in-law, who had been briefed by Sandy, were waiting for us. Sally, sorry about Tom, my mother-in-law said with an apologetic look. Sandy also looked sorry next to her. I don't blame them at all, and I love Sandy and my in-laws. But their kindness touched a nerve, and tears flowed endlessly from my eyes. My mother-in-law started crying too. Why do we have to suffer because of them? I swore never to forgive them. Right after the new year, I consulted a lawyer. Of course, it was about divorce, but not just that.
This is her account. It's clearly defamation and insult towards me. Can we also claim damages for this?
I handed my smartphone to the lawyer. The lawyer saved posts that could serve as evidence. There were many posts I had overlooked due to my unfamiliarity, and the more we searched, the more insults we found. This is terrible, the lawyer muttered with a wry smile. However, he assured me.
It must be disheartening to see all these malicious words now, but I will surely turn them into a mountain of gold. Don't let it get to you bad. If anything else gets posted, think of it as more evidence to be happy about.
Seeing me downcast, he said that to me. How much those words saved me.
Please take care of this for me.
I firmly shook hands with the lawyer. I was sure everything would be okay if I left it to this lawyer. Without betraying my feelings, the lawyer claimed alimony from Tom for the divorce. And also demanded alimony for infidelity plus damages for defamation from Natalie. Tom was stunned. But still not waking up to reality, he said, "It can't be helped. It's for my happiness with Natty. Do as you like, allowing me to proceed with the divorce preparations." Such a foolish man, despite being betrayed once. It'll be too late for regrets later. I decided to squeeze everything out of Tom thoroughly. Not only alimony, but he also said he'd give me the house. He must be planning to return to his parents' home. Oblivious to his parents-in-law's fury. Smirking inside, my discussion with Tom was over. Next was Natalie. On the lawyer's suggestion, we decided to meet with Tom and Natalie separately, and the day came for Natalie, the lawyer, Noah, and me.
No. I don't want a divorce. I was forced to do it against my will. I'm the victim here.
Natalie refused the divorce. However, Noah seemed to have lost his love for her, and her words did not resonate.
Do you want the video played in court? It's better for you to agree before it goes to trial.
Natalie fell silent at those words.
Besides, I know how you've been treating my mom poorly all this time. So, the alimony for my mom and for me combined is $70,000. You're going to pay it. $70,000?
Natalie's face changed color upon hearing the amount. Then, the lawyer presented printouts of the numerous posts on social media Natalie had written. She must have known what was coming. Natalie froze as she looked down at them.
You had relationships not only with your father-in-law but with other men too. This D refers to your sugar daddy, doesn't it? No, that's not what this is. Were you also getting money from your father-in-law?
The lawyer cut straight to the point, making Natalie stutter in response. It was a moment she could have claimed ignorance about the account, but perhaps she couldn't think fast at that moment. It was as good as admitting it was hers. We've also gathered solid evidence of the slander against Mrs. Sally Evans, 61, your mother-in-law, S. Photos of Sally and her clothing were posted along with the slander. It's enough to identify her. You could be facing charges of insult and defamation. I'm sorry, so sorry. Natalie began to prostrate herself in apology.
Apologies now won't reduce the compensation. If you have time to slander people on social media, better work hard and pay up.
She didn't respond. Watching Natalie continue to sob, head bowed to the floor, Noah and I exchanged relieved smiles with the lawyer. It was finally over. Tom seemed to be preparing to leave, busily packing his suitcase. There was a noticeable air of excitement about him.
Have you decided where you're going?
I'm heading back to my parents. I've really done you wrong. I'll make sure to pay the compensation. Oh, is Natalie ready? With that, Tom hurried out of the room. Since that day, Tom and Natalie had been staying in separate hotels. I didn't want to see his face, though I hadn't specified which hotel. Why separate hotels? Everyone but Tom could guess the reason.
Natty, you ready? Shall we go?
At Tom's words, Natalie also came out with her luggage. However, when she saw Tom, she glared at him, snorted, and averted his gaze.
Don't call me Natty, it's creepy. Natty! Why should I have to live with you?
Tom was silent, perhaps shocked by her words.
You've ruined my life. Shame on you for messing with your son's wife.
I couldn't help but laugh. It was ironic coming from her, but it must have been a significant blow to Tom. Don't contact me ever again, darling. I don't even want to remember you. With that, Natalie left on her own. Tom stood in the doorway, a picture of despair. As I was passing by, I accidentally dropped a piece of paper. Oh, my apologies. I dropped this. Tom turned pale at the sight. Seriously, Tom is so creepy.
I'm only putting up with him for $1,000, but every time he calls me darling, I get the chills.
Perhaps she couldn't write the proper term father-in-law. But then, writing his real name seems questionable too. Tom had been informed by the lawyer about Natalie's account. And that we were holding onto a copy of that post as evidence. He probably never imagined it would include something about himself. Tom just stood there, dazed in the entryway for a while. It seems Natalie has returned to her parents' house. However, her parents were furious upon hearing about the incident. She wasn't allowed in the house and is now hopping from one sugar daddy to another, continuing her sugar baby lifestyle. Natalie had easily gotten her hands on a lot of money. Such a lifestyle couldn't last forever. She probably hasn't realized that the real hell is just beginning. As he declared, Tom went back to his parents' house. But he wasn't allowed in there either. His in-laws kicked him out. Tom, apparently not expecting to be unable to return to his own home, came back here, but he was the one who said he would give up this house. I have no intention of letting him live here. Reluctantly, it seems he rented an apartment near our house and started living there, but he seems to want to come back as he's been spotted lurking around the neighborhood. Because it was so creepy, I reported him as a stalker. Tom was issued a restraining order. I don't know what happened after that, but he's probably living a lonely old age by himself. Several years later, Noah got remarried. After such an incident, I was scared of what kind of person it would be this time, but the new wife is kind to me too. The eldest son and his wife bought a house nearby, and they had a baby. I'm very happy, but I try not to interfere too much, hoping to maintain a good distance and relationship moving forward. I've become a single person living with my pet, Pippi, but my eldest son and his wife, as well as Sandy, always look out for me. Thanks to them, I'm living a very happy life.